Welcome back to James Pigeon, and today I'm going to be explaining the Fermi paradox iceberg. I found this iceberg online, and I'm just going to go through each element and explain them. If you don't know what the Fermi paradox is, it's the paradox that there should be a lot of aliens in the universe, just statistically, but we haven't found any. As an alien enthusiast, this iceberg is pretty basic in its scope, so there's a lot more to research if you're interested in this sample. If you're somehow not familiar with the iceberg format, it's basically just a list of things that start as simple, common, or naive, and get more obscure and usually disturbing as you go down. So let's get into it. Tier 1, Bloomer. We haven't been discovered yet. This refers to the hypothesis that we haven't seen aliens because we just haven't crossed paths yet in the vastness of the galaxy. This is seen as naive in the community, but it is the simplest solution, so Occam's razor may hold. We may not really be able to comprehend it, but the universe is a truly massive place. Even with light speed travel, it would take a very long time to get anywhere or find anyone. Imagine it like the entire Pacific Ocean, and there are 5 men standing in canoes randomly distributed across it. What are the chances that they ever find each other? Our radios aren't advanced enough. We have often tried to contact aliens through radio technology. Watch my video about link hosts for more information. This has been the primary focus of SETI, an independent agency that takes up the search for extraterrestrial life. The idea is that our radio technology simply isn't good enough to reach or receive alien messages. Pretty plausible, honestly, because radio messages go a very long way, but they can easily get scrambled. Space is too big for communication. The universe is a very, very big place. It has a very, very low speed limit, the speed of light, or c. As far as we know, without exotic matter or a wormhole, the fastest information can be transmitted is the painfully slow speed of light. It may simply be that the galaxy, let alone universe, is too vast for any interactions. Tier 2, Wojak. The zoo hypothesis. We store animals in zoos for our amusement, simulating their natural habitat and keeping them fed and docile. What if this whole time, we were the animals and the aliens were the zookeepers? Aliens aren't interested in Earth. Humans are very interested with the idea of life on other worlds, but what if aliens just aren't? Alternatively, maybe they do know about us and simply don't care. Maybe we're just not that special, they don't want to spend the resources to contact us. We are the first civilization in the galaxy. The universe hasn't existed for that long in comparison for how long it will ever exist. We're a pretty small percentage of the way through. Maybe we're just really early and nobody else has had the time to form yet. Maybe we'll catch some other civilizations growing up as we're in our twilight years. Government cover-up. So this is basically just the Area 51 meme. The idea that we actually have found or have been found by aliens, but the world's governments have decided to hide it for some reason. Maybe experimenting on them, maybe not to cause panic or something. This one seems pretty unlikely to me, honestly, given the amount of people required to keep the secret. Kind of like the moon landing. For the moon landing or aliens to be faked, the sheer amount of employees who would have to stay quiet about it for decades makes it pretty improbable. Although, didn't a few years ago the government just admit to UFOs being pretty common? So honestly, this might be more plausible than I thought. We are the Sentinelese of the Milky Way. So if you're somehow not aware, there is an island in the Indian Ocean called North Sentinel Island. It has a Mesolithic tribe which is hostile to any visitors. To protect the Sentinelese and any visitors, the Indian government enforces a strict quarantine around the island. Maybe we're under the domain of an alien empire, and they're enforcing a strict no-contact policy for our solar system, both to keep us safe from aliens and to protect aliens from us. If they've been watching our history, they'd have good reason as far as I'm concerned. Tier 3, Doomish. We are living in a simulated universe. This is basically just simulation theory, which is that our universe is actually a computer simulation, which we're somehow conscious inside of. The general concept has been debated heavily by philosophers for literally thousands of years. I suppose in the context of the Fermi paradox, it implies that we don't see aliens because the game devs forgot to add any. Interstellar exploration is a uniquely human trait. Maybe the drive to explore other worlds and look for alien life is based on temperament. And maybe we're the only species who cares about that stuff, and everyone else just stays on their own worlds, rising and falling in solitude. Civilizations don't survive climate change. The climate is warming, CO2 is building in the atmosphere, natural disasters are intensifying. Maybe this is an inevitable part of civilizational development and nobody gets past it. This seems to be the case in Dougal Dixon's book, Man After Man. Intelligent life is rare. This is basically the idea that even if life is common, the chance of it becoming intelligent through evolution and or divine creation may just be extremely low. At the end of the day, they say it's basically a numbers game, and the odds may not be in our favor. The rare Earth hypothesis. The rare Earth hypothesis is the idea that the conditions for life to emerge are very rare in the galaxy, with possibly only a few truly Earth-like planets across a massive area. Now that we have better telescopes, however, we can see that this is probably not actually true, with many habitable planets all over the galaxy. Tier 4. Doomer. Civilizations don't survive the atomic era. This is the hypothesis that when civilizations invent nuclear power, and naturally following nuclear weapons, extinction is sure to follow. This is mainly based on Cold War-era fear-mongering that a nuclear war would somehow destroy the world. This has mostly been discredited. Nuclear winters are thought to not actually be a real thing. Not to mention, even if all nuclear warheads on Earth were used, it probably wouldn't even kill a majority of the population, just due to distribution. Life requires more than one habitable planet. I'm not really sure what this is trying to say. Maybe that a species will die off unless it can spread its population to a second planet. I guess this is what Mars is supposed to be if it applies to us. Math is a human-exclusive discipline. I suppose this is the idea that math, and thus advanced science and engineering, is a unique product of the human brain. This ties into the philosophical question over whether math is discovered or invented. Personally, I think math is mostly discovered, given that we find it in nature and can predict natural phenomena with it. Interstellar travel is scientifically impossible. Interstellar travel is moving between star systems. I guess what this entry is positing is that it may be impossible to do that. I don't really see how it would be impossible, although it may simply take too much time to be practical. Traveling at 99% light speed, it would take a little more than 4 years to visit our nearest neighbor star. At our current technology, it would be more like 70,000 years. If I made this iceberg, I would have called this entry faster than light travel is impossible. Faster than light travel, probably the only thing that would allow for sci-fi level communication and travel between planets, may be possible with exotic matter or wormholes. There are some popular designs such as the Alcubierre drive and the Krasnikov tubes. If it is possible, though, we're a long way from figuring it out. Aliens are everywhere, but we can't see them. I guess this is the hypothesis that there actually are aliens all around us, but we just can't see them for some reason. Maybe their ships and skin blend into the sky or something, or maybe they live in a different dimension. Two-dimensional life has been found to be theoretically possible within the laws of physics and biology, but it would be impossible to see for us, since we would only see it as a line segment. Maybe there are 2D aliens all around us, under our feet, on the moon. This has been explored in Star Trek, the Planeverse, and Flatland. 4D life would also theoretically be possible in maybe even higher dimensions. Tier 5. Drained. We have yet to reach the Great Filter. Pretty common in the alien community, the idea of a Great Filter is basically something that every civilization encounters at some point, and most or all of them are unable to make it through alive. The idea here is that we haven't reached this mysterious filter yet, and it'll probably spell the end for us as it did for the others. Civilizations do not survive AI. This is the idea that once a civilization invents machines that can think independently, they will inevitably face extinction at its hands. We are the last surviving civilization in the galaxy. This is the opposite of the early bird theory. Basically, the idea that all of the aliens killed each other in a giant war or something, and we're the only ones that emerged untouched, making us alone. I see this as a lot less plausible, to be honest, given that if aliens do exist, they probably also experience the Fermi paradox. Aliens travel through the universe virtually. I had actually never heard this hypothesis before, but it is interesting. I suppose it's the idea that aliens have made a perfect simulation of the universe on a computer and they just explore that to learn about it instead of actually going outside and touching vacuum. Tier 6. Withered. The laboratory hypothesis. Pretty similar to the zoo hypothesis, this being the idea that we were put on Earth as some long-term experiment to study evolution or something, and are carefully being monitored and recorded. Pretty spooky to think about, but it's probably cap. Civilizations reset after a certain stage. So there's a popular conspiracy theory called the Great Reset, which says that human civilization has been reset at least one time in our history, losing a previously advanced society such as Atlantis or Hyperborea, and decreasing in development. They believe that this is going to happen again soon at the behest of some elites, usually the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab for some reason. I guess the theory here is that no civilizations ever get developed enough to have consistent space travel because their elites reset their societies. We are the only intelligence in the universe. This is basically just the idea that we're completely alone in terms of conscious souls in the universe. Either that evolution only cooked once, or that God decided Earth would be the only place with beings in his image. Side note, I should make a video discussing the perspectives of different religions on aliens. The Drake equation famously predicted that we are not in fact alone, but we honestly have no idea. This would certainly explain a lot. Tier 7. Dead. Dark forest theory. A rather grim take on the Fermi paradox. The dark forest theory proposes that we can't see any aliens because they're all lying in wait, ready to pounce at any civilization that gets too bold and eat it, I guess. Basically, the hypothesis that everyone's quiet because there's some interstellar predator carefully waiting for us to fall into its trap. We are alone because we miraculously passed the Great Filter. I mentioned the Great Filter concept before. This is the disturbing or comforting idea that we survived this impossible challenge because of some outside intervention, a miracle, and we're the only ones left to explore a vast galaxy filled with nothing but corpses. Well, that was fun. Let me know if you guys want more Iceberg videos. Remember, God loves you, and goodbye.